enhancing sustainable production of vegetables. About nutrition and health, many speakers have spoken since morning. I have heard each one of them. Very interesting topics, very informative. And also that makes my job easy because most of the aspects they have covered. So I will try to take a slightly different approach. I thought instead of just making it a routine thing and talking about various aspects, I want to just give a different aspect of this, and I try to approach it in my own way. So here comes the first one. My approach is a C3 approach. That's what it means. First C is contradictions. Second is confusions and concerns. This is what I'm going to share with you. I think this is my way of approaching and trying to clarify if you are for doubts or concerns or contradictions. In the contradiction, I have put there are two buttons, the red and blue. Somebody cannot read, I can read it for them. Red says the blue button is true. Then the blue button says the red button is false. So these are the contradictions. I think in the course of our thing, because some of us have been in the agricultural field for almost 5 decades now. So we have seen the subject evolving and progress happening. And Dr. Fakhruddin was talking about IoT, then smart farming, precision farming. So everything is going in the right direction. But of course, when we try to think about them holistically, we get concerns, our own concerns and confusions. So about confusions, it is said, I think Harry S. Truman, the American president, has once interestingly said, if you cannot convince them, confuse them. And I think in a way, we can confuse ourselves first and try to seek clarification. And also it is said, an expert is a man who tells you a simple thing in a confused way in such a fashion as to make you think the confusion is your own fault. So all this I'm trying to put in a lighter way and trying to see how we can come out with some clear thinking or emerge with clear picture of the whole thing. Concern should drive us into action, not into depression. That's the reason I'm trying to express some concerns. So first confusion is about the word sustain. I used to read sustain whenever some accidents happened. So many people were involved in the accident and they sustained severe injuries. So this I found sustained injuries after Marshall's pushed woman MP in RSL is just Congress said. So when you talk of sustainable agriculture, I always used to get confused. Sustain means what? So then I tried to look for the dictionary meaning of it. It said it is transitive verb. It means to give support or relief to. That's the meaning with which we are talking about it today. To supply with sustenance, nourish, nurture, keep up, prolong, to support the weight of. I'm trying to just, it's not that something is not known. I'm just trying to think aloud. Then the second one confused me. Suffer, undergo. So sustained heavy losses. I think we are not talking about just sustainable agriculture anymore. So I found this Dilbert's cartoon. I am a fan of Dilbert. So I always keep reading. He says, I have identified the brain chemical that controls happiness because we all want to be happy. And I found the exact mix of fruit and vegetable juices that stimulate its production. You have type of nutrition in health, and I think several people spoke about, I think Dr. Upadhyay spoke about fortification, and we say somebody said food is your medicine. And then it says, do you realize what it means? Yeah, fruits and vegetables will be banned by the government because your government doesn't want you to be happy. So basically, the point I picked this cartoon was, it is very well acknowledged fruits and vegetables play a greater role in our well-being or happiness. The second cartoon is, we must use all of the resources of the cow and egg lobby to counter the latest threat from the vegetarians. So cow and egg lobby feel vegetarians are a threat. Then the guy says, somehow they have managed to link food with health. They invented a nutrition pyramid chart and got schools to use it. Look at what is the nutrition thing about. This is a little different from the way I learned it. Bread, cereal, grains. It is second in the thing is fruits and vegetables, beans, tofu, gravel, bugs, milk, beer, and then meat is at the top of the inverse pyramid. So those two are bad. Just to lighten the thing, I put those. Don't get any. Yeah. So then we talk of, everybody's aware of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. That's how this seminar is being organized. Dr. Vasant talked about hunger signs in crops. So we are aiming at zero hunger. That means end hunger, achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Then good health and well-being, Sustainable Development Goal 3, achievement and maintenance of physical fitness and mental stability. Responsible consumption and production. Are we producing responsibly? Are we eating responsibly? That I'll come to that a little later. Better quality of life while minimizing the use of natural resources and toxic materials as well as the emissions of waste and pollutants. We all know agriculture is blamed as the largest polluter. Then there partnership for goals, that is PPP, private public partnership, that is P3. Idea is to combine commercial accomplishment with ecological safety and societal accountability. That's where partnerships work. I'll come to that slightly later. I have structured my talk like when I look at private sector perspective means how do I look at things differently and how private sector can play a role and how partnerships can work better. This is how I structured it. Then are we are of course we are trying to work on the sustainable development goals, but then FAO's the state of food security and nutrition in the world, or SOFI, it revealed a humbling reality. The world has not been progressing either towards ensuring access to safe, nutritious, and sufficient food for all people all year round, that is Sustainable Development Goal Target 2.1, or to eradicating all forms of malnutrition. It's a matter of concern. That's what I said in the beginning, concerns, contradictions, and confusions. Conflict, climate variability and extremes, and economic slowdowns and downturns are the major drivers slowing down progress, particularly where inequality is high. The COVID-19 pandemic, which we have recently underwent and we're just coming out of it, made the pathway towards SDG 2 even steeper, tougher to scale. Sustainability. Then let us quickly look at what do we really mean by sustainability. Is sustainability just doing things in a more balanced manner, taking care of the environment? That's somebody talked about ecology, balancing ecology with agriculture and economics. Ecology and economics balance they spoke about. No, it's much more. It's much more than ensuring protection of the natural resource base. To be sustainable, agriculture must meet the needs of present and future generations for its products and services while ensuring profitability, environmental health, and social and economic equity. These things are there, but then we have to think, are we doing all this? Sustainable agriculture contributes to all four pillars of food security. What are they? Availability, access, utilization, and stability. How? In a manner that is environmentally, economically, and socially responsible over time. When I try to look at all these, then the confusion starts. Are we able to do this? Are we able to balance this? Sustainable agriculture must minimize negative impacts on the environment while optimizing production by protecting, conserving, and enhancing natural resources and using them efficiently. See, but all these are nice to be defined, nice to write, nice to talk about, but then how much are we able to do? That's the question we need to ask. Achieving sustainable agriculture requires the development of strategies that make wise choices to reach the multiple objectives. This part I agree. That's what we all need to work towards. My slide is not changing. I think it said I am using more than my capacity or something. I am trying to change the thank you. Sustainable agriculture. So concerns, I mentioned in the beginning, confusion, concern. So I have concerns about its efficiency. Why? Sustainable agriculture rejects industrial approach to food production developed during the 20th century that is now being looked at as conventional agriculture. So what we were practicing before that is called as traditional agriculture. This system, with its reliance on monoculture, mechanization, chemical pesticides and fertilizers, biotechnology and government subsidies, has made food abundant and affordable. Is it not? Because but for chemical agriculture or what we are taught as intensive agriculture, half the world would be starving today. The system has definitely helped. However, the ecological and social prices have been steep. Erosion, loss of topsoil, depleted, reduced organic matter, and contaminated soil and water resources. I think that in the morning, Dr. Ganesh Murthy mentioned and talked about soil health, soil. That's very, very clear. Loss of biodiversity, deforestation, labor abuses, and the decline of the family farm. Not going to details. Quickly, I'll go to next. So what's the vision for truly sustainable fruit and vegetable farming? Main features are listed as 8 features: minimal soil disruption, cover cropping, optimized plant nutrition, optimize plant genetics. I'll talk a little bit about it being a breeder. Optimize pest management, labor efficiencies, the logical use of protected culture, logical balance of fresh, frozen, and canned output. This is interesting. Why our job is tough? Why vegetables are not as they used to be? This I found very interesting. This morning I added this line. Farm is losing, no doubt, because our vegetables have come to lack two features of interest: nutrition and flavor. A lot of it has been talked. Storage and transport take predictable tolls on the volatile plant compounds that subtly add up to the taste of food value. Breeding to increase shelf life also has tended to decrease palatability or taste. Bizarre as it seems, or strange as it seems, we have accepted a trade-off that amounts to give me every vegetable in every season, even if it tastes like a cardboard picture of its former self. This is truly happening. People want to eat because of the health reasons or health awareness or consciousness and affordability. They want to eat all the vegetables all the year round. Yeah, coming to nutrition part quickly, I want to dwell upon this. This was ICN2 second international conference on nutrition. Better nutrition, better lives was the theme of the conference, organized jointly by World Health Organization and FAO. It said keep nutrition high on the international and national development agendas. First global intergovernment conference to address the world's nutrition problems in the 21st century. Global problems require global solutions. Only an intergovernmental conference can legitimately identify the commitments of stakeholders to act decisively to address malnutrition. Goal is to improve nutrition through national policies and effective international cooperation. Global economy, food systems, and the nutritional status of populations have changed significantly. So there is a need for a new policy framework and more appropriate response. So this is what the conference thought in 2014. What did it do? It brought together senior national policymakers from agriculture, health, and other relevant ministries and agencies with leaders of United Nations agencies, other intergovernmental organizations, and civil society, including non-governmental organizations, researchers, the private sector, and consumers. So that's where private sector thing just I want to introduce now. Okay, when we talk of this, so we are talk of a little bit of enhanced nutritive value. As NUNAMS, I work for this company. We had a program with Nestle. You are very much aware. You drink Nescafe, you have this tomato ketchup sauce made by Nestle. We had a program with them. What was the program? They wanted us to breed for higher lycopene content tomatoes. And this tomato by HM Claus, Adora is the name of the tomato. So they have developed it unique variety with an abundance of sweetness and flavor, authentic marmande shape and unique brown. Natural antioxidant, lycopene, beta carotene, and tocopherol. I think enough has been spoken. I won't go into the details. Also a source of vitamin A and C and minerals. High potassium content helps to reduce high blood pressure. Popular with growers in traditional Spanish production regions. This is a quick glance at what private sector can do to enhance the nutritive value or nutrition of the vegetables. So then there is an organization called as BRESSO, that means expanded breeding for resilient, efficient, and sustainable organic vegetable production. 5-year project started in 2018. It will be there till 2023. What does it do? Provide climate resilient cultivars for organic vegetable production systems. Explore and exploit the genetic variation of broccoli, kohlrabi, bean, and tomato for enhanced productivity by gaining up-to-date knowledge of genome structure and function enhanced by the active involvement of 22 partners. Who are the partners? Farmers, advisory services, research institutes, breeding companies. This is where the private sector role comes in. And food processors from diverse geographical climate contexts in EU, the European Union, and non-EU countries. This brings together professional expertise and a stakeholder perspective along the whole value chain. Because there are many students here, I will also explain what value chain means, what a supply chain means, but for the present, just be aware of this. How do they do this? Selection of pre-breeding, breeding lines in organic vegetable farming systems using an annual crop protection scheme, selection of new cultivars for tolerance to moisture, temperature, and nitrogen stress, resistance to major pests and diseases, and desirable product quality traits such as taste, visual appearance, and post-harvest performance. The stakeholder board will contribute to the expected results of the project. What do they do? This is what I've tried to just put it here. Very broad crop genetic diversity because of the use of several land races and crop wild relatives provided by partners for expected pre-breeding and breeding activities. I'm trying to just give a glance of how private sector is involved in these activities. In the innovative approach, plant traits related to root zone and the root growth and architecture that enable a better interaction with organic soil and its microbiome will be used. It will ensure that available genetic resources and improved germplasm combined with the best on farm management practices will enhance resource use efficiency and productivity. The germplasm from this project will be valuable in the production of new seed for the organic growing sector. Just a quick glance. So now we come to, I think somebody was mentioning all the food that we produce is not being consumed. A lot of food is being wasted. So I just gave it a thought. From a private sector perspective, I thought if we can save the waste, what way we can contribute. So there is this nice saying, a penny saved is a penny earned. So I say vegetables saved from wastage are vegetables produced. So we talk of always increasing the production to feed the growing population. If only we just take a look at how much we are wasting and for what reasons and save that can contribute a great deal. So this interesting article I saw in National Geographic. So to put it euphemistically, cosmetically challenged veggies. That is, we don't want to call them ugly, they are cosmetically challenged. What happens in that is every year some 6 billion pounds of US fruits and vegetables are not harvested or sold, often for aesthetic reasons. Look at it. Ugly fruits and vegetables can help solve world hunger. Take a look. About a third of the planet's food, enough to feed 2 billion people, goes to waste, often because of its looks. Every year, some 2.9 trillion pounds of food, about a third of all that the world produces, never gets consumed. What a tragedy. Huh? See, one is we are producing, we are already, as many people mentioned since morning, we are using a lot of chemicals, we are using a lot of plant protection chemicals, polluting the environment, polluting our water resources, struggling to produce, then we are wasting. Along the supply chain, fruits and vegetables are lost or wasted at higher rates than other foods because these are very perishable. We all know it. Easily damaged and susceptible to temperature fluctuations in transit. 30% of the mandarin crop in overall Peru export reject eaten locally. Globally, 46% of fruits and vegetables are wasted. What a waste. Then somebody is working on that. If there are some deformed roots or malformed roots, why can't, if they are good, why not use them? So this guy, he is an activist. He works in Colombia. Bananas too short, long, or curved for the European market. What he does, he looks at local consuming rejected bananas, but growers in the region annually dump millions of tons of edible food. Please make a note, millions of tons. How much loss and how much of economic loss and how much of environmental damage are we causing? What a waste. According to the FAO, we squander enough food globally, 2.9 trillion pounds a year to feed every one of them, more than twice over. Where is all that food? About a third of the planet production going. See what we produce, 30% of that is, where is it going? Interesting. In developing nations, much is lost post-harvest, that is after the harvest, for lack of adequate storage facilities, good roads and refrigeration. In comparison, are developed nations any better? Look, developed nations waste more food farther down the supply chain. I'll come to supply chain in a while. When retailers order, serve or display too much, and when consumers ignore, leftovers in the back of the fridge are tossed perishables before they have expired. Wasting food takes an environment toll as well. I mentioned that. Producing food that no one eats also squanders the water. Squanders is waste. Fertilizer, pesticides, seeds, fuel, and land. What a waste. Okay, we'll come to a little bit about private sector. How we can commit to, how we can contribute, how we can be part of this whole process. Private sector entities must commit to preventing and reducing losses of fruit and vegetable within their operations and of others along the supply chain. As I said, I'll explain a little bit of supply chain little after a while. Adopting innovations that facilitate the formation of collaborative inter-firm relationships. There are two types of inter-firm relationships. Vertical, that means at different levels of the value chain, and horizontal at the same level of the value chain. This is easy to understand. Then effective cooperation. Examples: market information sharing and inter-firm communication that contribute to better group governance, to promote micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, to enhance competitiveness along the food and F&B value chain. Okay, I'll just mention quickly, make you understand better how supply chain works and how there is a role. A supply chain, what is it? It is a network between a company and its suppliers to produce and distribute a specific product or service. The entities in the supply chain include producers, vendors, warehouses, transportation companies, distribution centers, and retailers. This is how supply chain works. Value chain is this concept was given by Michael Porter in 1985. The functional activities of a business that add value to its customers. Please just will understand that. Otherwise, this slide, I have no problem sharing the entire presentation. Those who want to go through and read other parts, because I also want to restrict to my time. So firm infrastructure, human resource management, all these things work. And in private sector, many of you are aware, we pay a lot of importance and attention to all these aspects. Private sector entities must commit to equipment manufacturers and service providers must develop improved technologies, processes, and market information that support the activities and livelihoods of small scale fruit and vegetable producers, particularly women and local producers, and facilitate the creation of more efficient and equitable value chains. Then we have, as I said, no, it has to be a partnership. As a private sector, I cannot say we will do this and we are the ones. No, it's togetherness. It has to be public sector. It has to be civil society organizations. That's why I put here. Private sector, civil society organizations, international organizations, and academic and research institutions must invest in R&D to improve F&B production at all stages. This can be a solution. Coming out of the confusion now. R&D focus areas: harvest handling for improved efficiency and preservation mechanisms, loss and waste prevention considering the special needs of vulnerable populations, and building on traditional knowledge. This is what we must think. We should never ever ignore or neglect traditional knowledge. That's what Dr. Vasant also mentioned in his talk. He is building on traditional knowledge, trying to see how we can approach differently. Okay, this sources I have put here, source. Those who want, they can go in more detail. Then I come to my suggestion on multi-stakeholder partnerships, or in short, I want to call them MSPs. How does it help? Important facilitators of improving nutrition in developing countries to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. What we should do is invest in infrastructure to make investment for private companies attractive. That's a very important point. Civil society organizations deliver nutrition interventions, behavioral change related communication to consumers, holding governments and private sector organizations accountable. Accountability is a very, very important part. I think as long as that does not improve, I think each player will say, hey, I have done my part, other person is looking, then other person starts, blame game starts, and nothing works. Same continuing industry provides technical support, innovation, and access to markets and the supply chain because they have the strengths in all these areas. The greatest progress and impact can be achieved if all stakeholders cooperate in multi-stakeholder partnerships aimed at improving nutrition. The key requirements for productive alliances between industry and civil society organizations has to happen. Establishment, rules of engagement, transparency, and mutual accountability are very important. I said that already. They can be successful models in improving nutrition if they meet societal demands with transparent decision making and execution. That's another point I wanted to emphasize. Thank you. These are the points which I wanted to make.